ladies and gentlemen, one and all, mothers, fathers, especially mothers, to the My Mom Has Tourette's podcast. I am one of your hosts, Nathan.
I'm Josh.
Andrew.
And I'm Nathan. And when one of our mothers was younger, she had chickenpox. And the doctor didn't believe her, so she was forced to show the doctor the scar from it on her butt cheek. How's everyone doing? It's been a little bit.
I'm good. How are you?
It has been a little bit. I'm doing pretty well.
I am well as well. And I actually have some things to talk about this time, which is surprising.
Not just, me too.
I don't know.
Me too.
We got stories this week, boys.
Oh, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
Nathan,
so
kick it off. How was your week?
Kick this off. All right. Well, it has been like 2 weeks since we last recorded, I believe, and I went to the beach with my family. And interestingly, it was my family on my.
A little thirsty. Sorry, boys.
For the audio listeners, Andrew just kind of casually picked up like this. What was that? 2 gallon?
5 gallon.
5
yes,
gallon.
It's a 2
How
gallon.
big is this thing? And just it has like a little spigot at the very bottom. He was just drinking from the bottom of it. I guess he wanted to one up my ridiculous size, but not as ridiculous.
Oh, he's drooling.
You guys should watch the actual podcast because you see this ridiculousness. All right. Well, anyway, that was comical. That was comedy right there, folks. All right. And basically, we all went to the beach. I went with my wife and her family. It was kind of our normal family vacation, but also my family on my side went also. Also.
There's Nathan segregating again.
There is a lot of segregation in this brain of mine, and so we went and had a good time. It was Myrtle Beach, good old Myrtle, nice. And yeah, it was chill. It was nice to get away for a little bit. Apart from that, though, I started a job with UPS, and I've just been picking up boxes from here and putting those boxes over here every day for hours straight, and I drive 50 minutes to work every day, so that's been fun.
I also thought you said you work at Wii UPS, and I thought it was how was that like a Nintendo version?
Yeah,
the box
exactly.
With the Wiimote?
Exactly. Yeah, you aim at the conveyor belt and you pick it up and then you drop it off in the truck, and you actually get scored by how stable your walls are that you're building and stuff like that.
Nathan's lying. He's just playing Breath of the Wild. That's instead of working.
Let's just move on from this, guys. Josh, how was your 2 weeks?
Oh, okay. All right. So we got to start this off. Nathan, you haven't heard about this.
Oh boy.
I'm at work.
Yes, no, you're
my
not.
Mom calls. And she goes, "Hey, how's your day?" I said, "Okay. How's yours?" She's like, "It's all right. Have you talked to Andrew lately?"
Oh yeah, this.
And I said, yeah, I guess. We talk about the stuff for podcasts or just send each other random stuff, whatever. And she goes, "Okay." And I said, "Well, why?" She goes, "Well, Aunt Janie called and said that Andrew's grandfather died. And she tried calling Andrew, but Andrew wasn't answering. And they wanted to know if I've talked to Andrew to see if he's okay." I said, I'm not saying Andrew tells me everything, but I kind of feel like I would have heard it.
Good thing.
Or seen a post on Facebook about it or something. I haven't seen any of that. I said, I'll call him. So I hung up with my mom and I called Andrew, and I figured it would be hit or miss because, Andrew works from home.
Yeah.
And he doesn't answer, but he texts. And he goes, "I'm at work, bud. What's up?" And I said, "Hey, my condolences. I'm sorry about your grandfather. I'm here if you need anything, just stuff along the lines."
Yeah.
He goes, "I don't know what you're talking about."
I was worried. I was trying not to laugh there because I had a feeling that's where this was going.
And I was like, "Well, Aunt Jamie tried calling you. She said your grandfather died." And he goes, "No." I said, "Okay." He's like, "I'll call her." So I didn't hear anything from Andrew for a couple days. And I text him and I said, "Did you ever call Aunt Janie back?" And Andrew, do you want to finish?
Yeah, so like I was a little concerned because there is a large part of me that thought something did happen and I was unaware at this point. Uh, it would not be the first time that someone outside of my family told me something happened to my family.
Like when Aunt
So
Janie accidentally revealed to Aria in youth group that Steven Jackson was her stepfather, not her real dad. I thought Aunt Janie had done the same thing again. Was like, surprise, your grandfather died.
so I was a little worried because I mean there's that and it's happened to me personally before
That's
where
horrible.
I can't remember what it was.
Oh,
Somebody was in
Janice.
the hospital and Janice was like, "Oh, I hope everything's okay." I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" She's like, "Well, what about?" I think it was like my aunt was in the hospital. I was like, "Oh," and then I called and talked to everybody. But it's not. It wouldn't be the first time if one of them told me something happened to like my family and I didn't know.
That's terrible.
So anyways, so Josh was like, "Yeah, did you ever talk to Janice?" And I was like, "Well, yes." And she was like, "Well, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. That's why I'm messaging you. What's going on? Like, did I miss something?"
Hmm.
And she was like, "Well, I heard about your grandfather." And I was like, "Janice, my grandfather that you're talking about passed away like 5 years ago. I'm not sure what you're talking about." She's
He's
like, "Well,"
alive.
yeah. I was like, "So I'm not sure what happened, but," she's like, "Well, your mom made a post about it." And apparently my mom
Oh.
copy and pasted something
Like a
for like
Facebook
the
memory, instead of
yeah,
sharing the memory, she
she
just copied
just
and pasted it.
or
So it
made
looked
like
like a
a
brand new
she
post.
either that or she did just make a post because like it was because I know
The
I'm pretty sure that he
anniversary.
passed away in October, but I never remember the exact day. So she might have just made like a post about it, and that's what Janice saw, and then she told Josh's mom, and then Josh found out, and Josh told me. I was like, "Bro, this is wild. How does this happen?"
Yeah, Andrew's mom is the
Oh.
one with Tourette's for sure.
That's very possible.
Well, I
And
don't
that
know.
makes me
My mom
very
might.
thirsty, so I'm gonna take a swig.
Um, Second thing, this is for you, Nathan. I had training at work today. I mean,
Okay.
yesterday,
Yeah.
and my wife came out after training, and we went to Trader Joe's for the first time, and my wife fell in
Did
love.
you?
Yep.
Oh,
Nice.
it's
I still haven't
wonderful.
been to Trader
Yeah.
Joe's.
My wife is also in love with Trader Joe's.
We bought a. She was like, she wasn't real excited about it at first, and then like we got outside, and she's like, "We bought all of this for $66." She's like, "I might just start coming up here and buying all of our stuff up here."
Yeah, some of their stuff is like more affordable than you would expect. Some
Oh
of it is
yeah,
a little bit more, but
their
it's
meat, like their
yeah.
ground beef, was almost $8 a
Yeah.
pound. But
Dude.
like they had pumpkin gnocchi, and then pumpkin ravioli
Mm.
or something
Oh,
like
Ravioli,
I've
that.
ravioli,
made
give me
pumpkin
the
ravioli. That
ravioli.
stuff
Yeah,
is
and it was
good.
only like $2, $3 per pack.
Oh,
It's not bad.
And so like there nothing was too expensive what
yeah,
we
Oh,
they
did
have
got.
you make
lots of good
brown
stuff.
butter with it? Did you
No.
glaze it with brown?
We haven't cooked
No,
it yet.
bro. Oh, make some brown butter. You could cheat and just use some caramel if you want, but man, it is so good
With what?
with
The
the
pumpkin
pumpkin
ravioli?
ravioli. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say look, the way I did it was I made brown butter and with sage, and I feel like you both would like that a lot.
Okay. I'll give it a try.
Good stuff.
Um
Hmm.
Another thing that happened is I won a month of Discord Nitro
Dope.
from a Twitch streamer.
That's pretty cool.
So that was
That is cool.
exciting.
Who's the
Um
streamer?
M3D.
Night Shyamalan.
What
Oh,
does he stream?
Tarkov.
Nice.
no way.
This is my
Free,
favorite
free
story.
shameless plug for that guy's Twitch. Yeah.
Shameless plug
EMM3D.
for Tarkov.
So we went to Arby's and we were ordering dinner for everybody.
We
Tonight?
have the meats.
No, this was a couple weeks ago,
Oh.
like when you went on vacation.
Yeah.
And I love Arby's sauce. And we ordered, pull up to the window. She opens the window to take the payment, and I said, "Listen, whatever box the Arby's sauce comes in, just give that to me when you bring the food out. She goes, okay. I'm like, no, like, weird remark or like
She's like, "All right, sure."
face. And so she hands us this food, and I get this heavy to go bag. I'm like, what the heck is in this? And I open it.
Gave the whole
She
thing to
dumped
you.
the entire container into the to-go bag.
That's
Did she
awesome.
charge you extra?
We'd
Shout
already
out
paid.
to that MVP. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
I looked at my wife and I was like, I was kidding. I didn't think anyone actually would ever give me a whole box of it. So now we have a whole Ziploc bag of Arby
That's
sauce in the fridge.
incredible. Give me all the bacon and eggs you have. Wait.
Yes.
Hold up.
I believe you misheard me.
I want to make sure you heard me correctly. Give me all the bacon and eggs you have. That's what happened, but you did not intend it. That was yeah. I like the thought that that was just her way of flirting with you, Josh.
No. Now my wife is going to go have to stab a pregnant chick.
Wouldn't be the first time she did it. What?
Oh. We don't tell that story.
So I want to. I talked to Andrew about this a little bit. He doesn't know the story behind it, but I kind of want to get an interesting topic for the podcast that makes us think a little bit, talk a little bit of a conversation. I kind of want to front load the podcast with interesting stuff so the people who don't really care about the game at least have some cool, interesting stuff to listen to in the beginning.
That's fair.
So, with my job, I take a loaded trailer to Ohio, and I meet another driver, and we swap trailers, and then I take that trailer back and deliver it. Well, we meet at this gas station that has a McDonald's in it. And I usually go to the bathroom when I get there, and they have a urinal. And one day I noticed it's one of the automatic flushing urinals. It had tape around the top, the little plastic piece that like senses you're there.
The sensor.
And my mind immediately went to this, okay? Now, this article is off of Audubon, AUDUBON.
The Audubon?
Audubon? I'm a retard. And it's titled, Are Birds Actually Government-Issued Drones?
They are.
So says new conspiracy theory. And I'm going to read this little piece. It says, the CIA assassinated John F. Kennedy after he refused to kill and replace billions of birds with drones. The U.S. government is sequestering a team of Boeing engineers in Area 51 for a secret military mission. Our tax dollars have been funneled into building the Turkey X-500, a robot used to hunt large birds. Combine all of these conspiracy theories and you get Birds Aren't Real, a nearly 2-year-old movement that claims the CIA took out 12 billion feathered fugitives because directors within the organization were annoyed that birds have been dropping fecal matter on their car windows. The targets were eradicated between 1959 and 1971 with specially altered B-52 bombers stocked with poison. They were then supplanted with avian-like robots that could be used to survey Americans. Sounds extreme, but also somewhat fitting, given the landscape of today's social discourse. By surfacing murky bits of history and the ubiquity of AVs, Birds Aren't Real feeds into the era of post-truth politics. The campaign relies on internet-fueled guerrilla marketing to spread its messages, manifesting through real-world protesters and Photoshop propaganda tagged with the Birds Aren't Real slogan. And my thinking behind that is, you know how people are always talking about, like, the government's listening to your phone calls. The government's listening to the podcast right now. If that urinal has a sensor in it that senses that I'm standing in front of it, do you think the government is watching me pee?
Oh, yeah. There's a dude watching you through that sensor. It's just a camera behind a little black thing. Like, you can't see the camera itself. Yeah, they're staring straight at you while you're peeing, and they are like, okay, he's stepped away, so now time to flush. And that's why some of those urinals and toilets and stuff, sometimes they flush randomly or flush while you're still standing in front of them, because it's like they're just messing with you. This is
you're still sitting on the toilet and it just flushes, and you're like, I didn't move.
And it's true, by the way, birds are not real.
My mind went to that for some reason, because I saw the tape, and I'm like, why would there be a tape on a lens on a urinal? Like, who would put that there?
Good thoughts.
For the same reason you put tape over your webcam, my guy.
Exactly. I was going to go into that.
Good thoughts.
So people can't watch you. And then my mind just somehow got into birds aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
Government killed all the birds to make spy camera pigeons, and they're also spying on us through urinals.
Yep. Birds are a very effective way to do it, though. You ever seen crows? Those guys are wild.
Crows are big. They could get a lot of technology packed
all over
into
the place.
Crow.
Yep. You know what's white, gray, and rolling in the dirt? Josh and a pigeon fighting over a French fry.
See, you have just done so many wild things. In my mind, that's an actual story that has happened, and he's just bringing it up.
That's possible. That is possible. I could see it.
I was just curious.
Josh would definitely win against the pigeon, and then he would take it in victory. He'd be like, yeah, and he would just accidentally kill the pigeon by spiking it into the ground.
Don't pigeons explode when they eat bread?
Most birds do, yes. I used to do that with my dad, and I didn't know that's what happened.
What?
He would take, like, stale bread, or, like, if we had spoiled bread or something, we'd go to the laundromat, and he would take it and, like, throw it to the birds, which is, fun fact, the reason why a lot of states try to outlaw throwing rice at weddings now, because the birds would, like, eat it and then, they die. So we would throw the bread out to the seagulls that were by this laundromat we went to when I was a kid, and seagull would go over to eat it, and we wouldn't ever give too big of chunks. My dad's like, watch this, and he takes a whole piece and he crumples it and chucks it, and this seagull just freaking gullets this thing, just swallows it whole, and he's like, just pay attention to that one. So I'm looking at it, and I don't know, 5-10 minutes later, it's just walking around. It's not as vile as you think it is, but he's walking
not like
around
hitting a deer at 90 and it turns to soup.
Yeah, he's just kind of waddling around, and he just looks over at something, and he gets a little bigger, and then he just doink.
He farted in a spacesuit.
yeah, and he was done.
Why does that happen? I assume it expands or something, and it can't like go through him, but he's just boop. Yeah, that makes me so sad.
There might have been like a feather or two that just kind of popped off, and I was like, "Ooh, what's he doing?" And then he just keeled over. I was like,
poor
Dad,
guy.
That one's sleeping. He's like, "No, son, it ain't sleeping no more. It ain't sleeping."
You got your first kill today, son.
Yeah, kill streak.
Why do birds explode? Why do birds explode? It looks like instead of Google, I have.
Do you have anything else that happened interesting in your week while he's Googling that?
Well, Google AI is responding to me, and it says birds don't explode unless something that would cause an explosion outside of a bird's body is forced inside it.
I guess you would say the bird more imploded then.
Whatever it is, man.
Yeah, it floated. Whatever tense needs to be.
That's fair. That's fair. There was a plosion. Josh, anything else?
Nathan.
Oh
no, I don't. Andrew,
how was your time?
What were you gonna say to Nathan? I'm interested.
No, that was it.
No, it was just. I have a massive cow lake. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of great.
You'd be gone if you had all that beautiful hair back.
Oh.
Or
it would be really big.
Oh.
Andrew,
tell us about your week and your haircut.
Oh yeah, I'm getting there. I still need to send that picture to Nathan.
Yes, send the picture to Nathan.
So I have a friend, and I don't know if technically they are not. So what I'm looking for, they did not give consent to be on the podcast. So I'm gonna say that this friend's name is
Ronaldo.
Her name's Ronaldo. I like it. Ronaldo's a good name. So
Ronaldo.
So Ronaldo was a friend of mine and one of my other friends, my other friend Josh, growing up, and she liked cutting hair, and she actually went to school to be a barber.
You ever just wish you were an animal, like
so
a duck
whenever
or
she was in school,
a rabbit,
she
red
actually
panda,
worked
something like
with my
that?
other friend Josh, and when they worked together, she would come over to the house. It's needing to rewind. So it's important to know, yeah, it's important to know that Josh and I, between the two of us, had over 80 pairs of shoes. We used to be
Oh.
like, we used to love,
Bathe apes from that special
Yeah.
story.
dude. Yes, thank you. Good old Bapes, man. But so she would like cut our hairs, quote, practice on us or whatever. And we were like, well, we're kind of broke kids. Let's just give you a pair of shoes since you happen to wear the same shoe size as we do. So we would just give away pairs of shoes. She'd cut our hair. It was great. Recently, Ronalda had gotten her own shop in town, like not far from town, and she was working for a couple other people before, and she was on her own, and she had finally gotten her shop, and I found out where it was. I was like, hey, I scheduled an appointment to get a haircut. I was like, yeah, I need one. Let's do it. So I go over to Ronaldo's shop, and when I get there, we just start talking. She also, fun fact, because she's such a kind soul, she gave me a sauna suit, kind of random, but
Nice.
yeah. So because we were just talking about going to the gym and stuff, and she was like, "Well, I was going to send this back because it doesn't fit." I was like, "That's really big. It might fit me." So it does, but
Good.
so after I'm getting my hair cut, and she's like kind of old school, I think. She
Mhm.
uses like the straight razor to like line up your beard and like kind of make sure everything, you don't have a widow's peak if you have one, and just kind of like really lines and edges everything up really closely and really nicely. And so she starts doing that. We're just talking, and for a minute, like minute later, she stops for a second, and I hear the scraping of the straight razor, but I don't feel anything. Obviously, it doesn't hurt, but I was like, I don't feel anything. And listen, I know I'm weird. Whenever I go to a barber shop, I don't know if it's the hum of the clippers or like the scraping of the razor, but I just get super relaxed, and I usually just keep my eyes closed and while I'm talking to whoever's cutting my hair. Just some weird thing I do.
It's also kind of
And so I
awkward to
like
like stare. I don't know. I keep my eyes
Yeah,
closed
that
too.
too. Yeah. So I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
So while I hear this scraping, I'm like, that can't be my skin because I don't feel anything. And I like open up one eye and look, and there's like, I don't know what it is, but it was this little, real thin. It almost looked like you ever seen like a pan scraper, like that kind of long, hard piece of plastic to.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
kind of looked like that, except it was all black and it was like waxy. So it almost kind of looked like a real thin bar of soap. And I looked up and I was like, to myself, I was thinking, what is that? And she obviously saw this weird look on my face because she was like, a little enhancements never hurt anybody. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm down. I told her, I was like, I know you won't make me look like a fool. You'll make me look good. Sounds good.
Little
So she
enhancement.
does that. Yeah. And I was like, I told her, I was like, you trying to say I'm like balding or something? Because I know I am, but we don't have to talk about it. So she's doing her thing, and I'm like, I really don't know what she's doing. And then later, after like everything's done, she grabs this tiny little. It's a spray bottle, but it kind of reminded me of those old timey like perfume bottles that you hold at the bottom, and you got the little squeaky thingy. And she's like spraying some of that on my beard, and I was like, I really don't know what she's doing, but I'm kind of excited to see this. Bro, when I tell you I looked like I had a Gigachad filter on my face the whole time, like that's exactly what it was. I sent the picture to Josh. I'm gonna have to send it to you, Nathan.
I need that.
No, you didn't send it to me. You sent it to Megan.
Oh yeah. She asked
Because
for it.
I called her and told her about it. She's like, I gotta see. I was like, babe, you know the Santa Claus movie where he clones himself because he's so busy? She's like, yeah. I said, and you know how he takes over the whole North Pole? I said, Andrew's face had that like plastic fake look. Like it was great.
And so to let you know, so Ronaldo is of a darker shade of skin than I.
More
And
melatonin.
yes, so I got up and I
don't know
looked
what you
in the
guys
mirror
mean.
when we were done. She's black.
She's black.
So when I got up and looked in the mirror, I was like, wow, this looks really good. And then I looked at her, I was like, this looks really good. It just doesn't look the best on me. I was like, I don't think I'm melanated enough to like sport this look, but it's so awesome that I'm gonna wear it out.
Yeah.
And so apparently like it like washes out or whatever, but I went everywhere the rest of that day just to be like, everyone check out my super fresh, super full looking beard.
His
And
lines
I got
were
a
like
couple.
super defined.
They were super defined.
I need
And
this picture.
I'll send you a picture. But I got a couple compliments that day, so it made me feel good. But yeah,
I mean, it didn't look bad, but it wasn't Andrew. Like,
yeah, it was not me. You could tell. Yes, Nathan, I love that. Yes. R.I.P. beard and hair.
It was so long. It was ridiculous. Look at that.
But that's one thing I did this week, so that was fun.
So sad.
Also, shout out to Steven and Chad, not the Steven you guys know.
Different Steven.
But shout out to old Bubble Man Steve. He's pretty dope, Mr. Timestamp himself.
True.
But shout out to Steven Chad. When I was at GameStop, I got this hoodie. Pretty great hoodie if you're a One Piece fan.
Yeah, nothing about it, just looks cool.
But I was there. I was just talking to him, just kind of hanging out. I didn't really want to go back home at this point yet, and I was like, yeah, let's just talking to these dudes while I got this hoodie. They were pretty chill, and I was just kind of hanging out. And after that point, I was about to leave, and I was like, I just wanted to do something nice. And what ended up happening was I may or may not have bribed 2 employees from GameStop to subscribe and watch our show.
Ooh,
that makes me. You're out there with the word
unintentionally,
of mouth. Just
unintentionally. But yeah, so like I said, I wanted to do something nice for him, and I was like, I finally have a few extra bucks to myself. Like I don't feel like I'm tapped or anything, and I really don't have anything to spend it on. So yeah, let's do something nice. So I was like, I didn't tell him what I was doing. I was just like, do one of you guys have a coin? He was like, yeah. So I was like, all right, heads or tails? And he said tails. He got it right. So I was like, well, I guess I'm doing it. And I just went and I grabbed a couple pizzas, and I came back and I was like, I got you guys pizza. And they were like, oh, cool. So we like just started talking more. And after I was about to leave, I looked at the time. I was like, oh, I got to get home. I still got to play this game for the podcast, and I got to do the podcast afterwards. They're like, oh, you do a podcast? And I was like, the like cash register or the stars cash register eyes, like in my head, I was like, this is it. Shamelessly promote yourself. Yep. So, I was like, yeah, we're on YouTube. I think the only thing we're not on is like Apple, like iTunes or whatever. So, go look at the TikTok, go look at that. And they were like, is this the one? And they both showed me on their personal phones. I was like, I got them, boys. I got 2 more subscribers. We're growing out here.
Yep.
So
I love that so much. We got a random subscriber recently, so that might have been one of the dudes.
Well, thank you, random subscriber.
Yeah. Oh, good old Steven and Chad.
Indeed.
Pretty great guys from GameStop. Indeed. But so that happened. Try to think if there's anything else that really happened this week. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not as cool and interesting as you guys most of the time, so it was really cool that I got a new knife for really cheap. I like finding thrifts and finds.
We need to back up. You're not as cool and interesting as us half the time. Most of the time.
I don't seem to have like when we do our day-to-day how was your weeks, mine are usually really boring.
Mine are just as boring as yours.
So
if you're calling yours boring.
Josh
is
Josh
is a crazy life. Yeah, he's kind of like the cool kid on the block of our podcast, and we just kind of like
I don't want this power.
Live in the shadow.
I really love my ears right now.
Yeah.
I love your ears too.
Thank you.
But so yeah, I got they had just opened up an Ollie's in
Wait, where?
Oh no, I revealed where I'm from. Finally messed up. But yeah, so they revealed an Ollie's. They actually put it in the old Crown Center where
You're kidding right now.
What was that? Where
Giant and
I think it was Ross's.
Yeah.
Where Ross's was.
You're kidding me right now, right?
No.
Ollie's
so
like
yeah.
Ollie's
outlet.
good stuff
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
There's
So
an
I went
Ollie's
there.
where the old
Yeah.
You're blowing my
Yeah.
mind right now. Ollie, I like
It's
Ollie's.
pretty great. I do, as a matter of fact. Proof dog. Skadoosh. I got my Ollie's card.
That's kind of fantastic.
But
Nathan,
I went there just because I was bored, and I found a set of knives that was like $90 usually, and it was on sale for $25. I was like, ching.
Good stuff. What, Josh?
can you send me that picture?
What picture?
What picture?
I mean, I can
One
send you
buck.
guys all of our thumbnails.
I want the one behind your face.
Yeah, it's fun.
But that's about the extent of my day. I got super excited to shop at Ollie's for no reason.
What'd
I
you
bribed
get?
some people to watch our podcast. I got those knives. I got deodorant for $1. Like
What
it was the crap, what's it called? It's the Dollar Shave Club stuff. It smells really good.
This episode brought to you by
You can't say that we're sponsored. This episode not sponsored by Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah.
But if you want to sponsor us, hit us up.
Yeah, actually, you don't even have to. Just send us a letter. We'll
There
accept.
we go. Take it.
Yeah, that was pretty much my week. Nothing
Good
too
stuff.
crazy. Obviously,
stuff.
took a nice deuce. That
Oh,
always
yeah.
poop well. Yeah.
I love your poop
Couple good
stories,
ones.
man.
My mom
Beautiful.
clogged the toilet this week. I told her between her and my wife, we're gonna have to keep a spoon and a knife in the bathroom.
Poop knife.
So, just before we move on to the gaming news, since you mentioned that, I actually do have a group chat that's still alive with a couple of my, mind you, all female coworkers, and it's called the Double Button. 1 year, I think it might have been during COVID. I think it was COVID. Yeah. So because they were all like, man, COVID sucks, like we can't go out and do anything, like a week after my actual birthday, like the three of them and one of their significant others came down and they like surprised me at my house. They're like, hey, like we're gonna be there in 2 hours. Shoot, and my friends who are actually my friends let me know if they're coming over, even if it's 2 minutes before, because they know I don't wear clothes at my house.
Or
So I was
they
like,
start
all right,
parties
cool.
at your house and don't
We all
show up.
know. We
Yeah,
all know,
good old
Andrew.
So I was like, oh sweet, not I was like, I had a couple hours, so I like making some dip and stuff, and they came over and had a little birthday party for me. But all of them minus the guy, because he didn't have Snapchat, we have this group called the Double Button, because when they came in my house that day, they noticed that I have a fancy toilet with the 2 buttons, right?
I like that.
Like
Mhm.
one for pee and one for poop. So I ended up starting a Snapchat group with them, and I always, record me pushing the double button every time I poop. And then, of course, it becomes more of a thing.
That's
So recently, if
ridiculous.
you show up in my house, my little poop partner, I have a plush Yoshi that's just sitting next to my toilet.
Ew, please
Who
tell me
kinda
you shut your
kinda
lid whenever
narrates
you
everything.
flush.
No,
When I
it's
flush,
covered in
yes.
fecals.
Okay.
You know what?
It helps. It helps a
let it fly.
lot
Letting it
with
fly.
the
Get a black light.
Well, you figure sometimes I got to show them the product, because if they ever question me and they're like, "You're not pooping this much," I'm like, "Bro, give me 20 minutes, I'll show you."
Yeah, if they doubt and he needs to prove.
my man poops on
Picture it didn't
command.
happen, so I make sure it happened. But yeah, so I think it's a good, horrible segue into gaming news.
Yes, indeed.
Gaming news.
And this week, well, technically last week, please don't hate us for this one. In gaming news, we have 3 more articles. Like always hopping in here with some articles about stuff that's going on in the gaming world. And so, good old Cyberpunk 2077, the game that once again came out. And Andrew, you're so distracting. That came out and had the whole issue of it not being finished at all on release, like No Man's Sky was, like so many other games these days, because people just, it's crazy. It's crazy out there. I'm not going to get into that. However,
Indeed.
Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt, so CD Projekt or CD Projekt Red, but basically they're the developer of it. They used AI to replace a deceased voice actor with his family's permission. So
yeah, I heard about that.
It was a Polish actor who passed away in 2020, or he passed away in 2021. He played Victor Vector in the game, and his name was Milagos Rexek. Please forgive me if I am not pronouncing that well. I don't know Polish pronunciation. But I guess he was also best known as the Polish dub for Homer Simpson in the Simpsons movie. So that's interesting. And he was Vesemir and Thaler in the Witcher games, and Dr. Victor Vector in Cyberpunk 2077. He passed away in December 2021, age 60. And CD Projekt, I guess I don't know if they just like had more voice lines for him and for that character, and instead of finding someone to replicate the voice, they're using AI, which I could talk for 5 hours straight on AI and how incredible like some of the technology is getting. Like, this is the decade of AI, and I'm not joking. It's getting wild, buck wild out here. However, there's a lot of like this crazy AI stuff that can just straight up take some and they have a lot of recordings of this dude's voice if they had him as a voice actor in the game, even like as a small character. They would have had extra lines that might have been cut, stuff like that. I haven't played the game, so I don't actually know how big of this character was. However, basically feed this AI some voice lines of a person speaking in like the same kind of voice, and it will just replicate it very, very, like, almost indistinguishably in a lot of cases, which is incredible. So yeah, I guess CD Projekt is the localization director is quoted as saying that the developer did not want to find a replacement for the actor and re-record his lines. They didn't like that approach, so they said that his performance was stellar, and they were wanting to instead find a way to kind of just continue on. Like, it just sucks. It would suck to have to completely like cut out all his work that he put into the game. They loved his voice, they loved the dude, and so they are able to keep his performance in the game and also like pay tribute to his performance in the future by that sort of thing. I love it, Josh. And so essentially they spoke with the family and got their families got the actors family's permission to make sure that it was, cool, because that's the kind of thing you do, I guess, when he's not still around. And yeah, that's pretty awesome that they're doing something like that. And I think more game devs should jump on board with the AI stuff to help them, because it's really, really quite useful for game design specifically. There's lots of cool new stuff that you can use for it. But yeah, you guys have any thoughts on that?
No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really neat. I'm assuming the reason they needed the extra lines is the game actually just came out probably a couple weeks ago now with a new DLC package, but
Makes sense.
It's large enough to where pretty much the developers and all the players are saying you need to restart the game with this DLC, because it was like $30 or $40, and it adds a lot of hour content, and a lot of like little polishes. So
yeah,
I'm sure they had like more lines for him, but it was, I'm sure it's awesome. I'm excited to try and play it.
So, gaming news article 2. And I'm actually going to read the first 2 paragraphs of this directly because it makes me happy.
Article 2.
We don't need that every time. The title, Starfield mod, which Starfield is a game that was released recently. Released recently by Bethesda. Lots of people love it, lots of people hate it. We're not getting into that. However, we are getting into the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, which Starfield mod replaces every ship in the game with Thomas the Tank Engine.
Of course it does. That's got to be the largest, like, most popular for every game I've ever seen.
Skyrim,
yeah,
the dragons
trains,
became...
Yep.
You don't have to wait any longer. The most essential mod to any Bethesda RPG is here, and as per usual, it will fill your game with Thomas the Tank Engine. The mod, which is now available for any PC player to download, converts all starships into Thomas the Tank Engine, complete with those lidless, dead eyes we know and love. Beautiful. So, yeah, that's literally it. That is the news, and I think that it was worth talking about because it's beautiful. It's simply the absurdity.
TTE, my guy, Thomas
the
Tank Engine, bro.
Yeah, the absurdity of playing that game. Just having that mod, and you just get Thomas. You add Thomas to any... It's like you add salt to any food, it's going to make it better. You add Thomas the Tank Engine to any single video game out there, it's going to make it better. It's just how
like a horror game. You know how terrifying it would be to be chased by Thomas the Train?
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure my favorite Thomas the Train mod is Left 4 Dead 2. I'm pretty sure they made there's a mod for the tanks to be just Thomas. And it's
That's
weird
incredible.
because he's kind of anthropomorphized instead of just a train. It's absolutely terrifying.
Ooh, oh, that's wonderful, actually. Yeah, we are called to be salt of the earth, and Thomas the Tank Engine is called to be salt of video games.
Yes.
Gaming
Thomas
news
is called to be salty.
Yes, that too. So we're going right here into Article 3 of gaming news. So Epic bans Rocket League item trading. Community calls for boycott as thousands sign petition. We know how well petitions work in the past. It does depend on what type of company it is, but man, petitions often get millions of signatures and then nothing happens. It's a lovely time. However, so there was player-to-player trading back before this in the good old, they call it the popular car football game. What a fun! How do you John? Like, what do you even call that? Like, it's like a sports game, kinda.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, what's up? What's up, my guy?
The player-to-player trading, is that like Counter-Strike? Is that like with the weapon skins and stuff? Like you could sell that for actual money?
I think something like that. I don't know if you could actually sell it for actual money, but I assume you could if you could trade. So, basically, it was like game cosmetics and item shop, like stuff from the item shop and like just actual cosmetics. Because you can, from my understanding, in that game, you can have different skins. Like there's different car models, and then each of those cars have different skins. And then there's also things you can like add hats and stuff, like all kinds of crazy things onto the car, like accessories. So. I've played the game a little bit. It's a lot of fun. It's very it's very interesting take on a game.
Our next, let us play.
Yup. I mean, maybe. I mean, that would be kind of fun. But that's more of the rage-inducing kind of Overwatch more game rather than like a. So we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out together. But, yeah, I guess they're like, no, we're not doing that anymore, and the community's like, please don't change this. This is stupid. I think they speak exactly like that, actually. But after December 5th, there'll be no way to trade items with any player or between accounts. And so,
did they say why they did that?
I'm trying to figure that out because I don't know. You would think they would explain why,
but there's gotta be a reason.
It just seems like it's very vague. Like it says, we're making this change to align with Epic's overall approach to game cosmetics and item shop policies, where items aren't tradable, transferable, or sellable. Statement from Psionic's team. Read.
I was going to say that has to be it because that seems to be the reason anytime like a developer or something takes down a trading and a mechanic in a game. I mean, we can just go back to our own podcast on like episode 2 when I was complaining about the fact that I couldn't just drop a weapon that Josh wants, and he's like, I don't want to get banned for cheating. And I was like, well, this game's dumb then because you can just pick up someone else's gun when they die. What's wrong with picking up mine?
I get you. Yeah, and obviously, like, that game has had item trading since the beginning, or, I mean, I assume, but it's something that they're changing now, which obviously some people are going to be unhappy about. If this was never in the game from the beginning, there probably wouldn't even be a petition. That would just be, oh, this is how the game works.
If petitions worked, we would also have Danny DeVito as Wolverine in the cinematic universe. Fun fact, that petition back in, I believe it was 2019, got over 68,000 signatures.
We missed out on Danny DeVito as Wolverine, and we missed out on Nicolas Cage as Superman.
Well, what does a petition do? Is it just like an organized list of people that want whatever's happening?
Yes, that's all it is. Yeah, that's all it is. And a company can look at that and be like, oh, we have lots of people interested in this. Let's do it. Or they can just say, I don't care. And then nothing happens. Nice. Or they can just not ever see it, too. There's that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Well,
that's something that they have a petition going. They're like, the community's pretty... a lot of backlash and everything. A lot of backlash toward Epic Games and Psionic and whatever. So this could be very possibly one of those things that does get turned back around. Because sometimes community backlash like this really does end up causing change, but simply petitions, does that ever do?
Well, sometimes change is good, sometimes it isn't. But just like Epic Games not caring, I think that's a good segue to moving into our new game.
Yep. So this week... Yep. I like that. Big fan.
So, spoiler alert: Josh apparently didn't like the game. In case you guys missed out on that,
I'm sure.
I didn't say that.
But anyways, if we're starting,
Dead air.
you were like, "We're starting," and then everyone's just like waiting for someone to take over.
snacking on the podcast.
So this week
They're
played a
here
game
staring at me saying, "Eat me."
I didn't hear it.
So we played a game called Home, and
Home.
it was it's described as Home is a unique horror adventure set in a beautifully realized pixel world. It's a murder mystery with a twist because you decide what ultimately happens. So in a way, it's kind of like the developer saying, "I don't really want to. I like all these endings. We'll just make the player decide." No, I'm just kidding. That's not really it. But I did enjoy this. It was very interesting. I like stuff like this. I know Josh is probably less of a fan of this kind of thing.
Andrew
but,
told me, "Don't look anything up."
Yeah.
I beat the game and I looked it up.
So it looks like it's created by Bancy Co., which I think when the game Bancy Company, which I think when the game was initially created, it was under a different company name, as Andrew was telling me earlier off the podcast. But all right, so about this game, Home is a unique horror adventure set in a beautifully realized Pixar world. I told you, I read that paragraph to you. I'm sorry, but awakened by an oncoming storm, you open your eyes to discover yourself in a strange, dark room tucked away in a house that's not yours. As you play the game, it changes, subtly, almost imperceptibly, to reflect your perspective. It's a horror game unlike any other, and as you'll discover, its truths are entirely subjective. So we are going to kind of talk about our experience with this game. It basically says, "Oh yes, set aside about an hour and a half, and you'll beat it," and it's pretty accurate.
Not only that, it literally says something along the lines of, "We don't recommend you starting and stopping, coming back to it later.
Yeah.
Like, set enough
Get
time and beat it in one sitting."
Yeah. So
Did you
that
guys
is what we did.
also? Did you also do what it suggested in making sure that you were wearing headphones when you played?
Yeah,
this
oh
game?
yeah.
Okay.
I did
was
not
just
make it all completely dark, but I did wear headphones the whole time. So we can kind of figure out who wants to go first. Kind of talk about their experience.
I'll go.
I'll at least say this. The main reason I did pick that game, while not out of spite for not allowing me to play my other game, it was out of spite for making me play Escape from Tarkov, because I knew Josh was going to despise this game.
Okay.
So
I don't despise it.
that was the thought. I thought you would really hate it.
I love the
So,
thought that you
we'll find
picked a
out.
game that you thought was bad, just so that we.
I never said it was bad. I liked
know,
it,
I know.
and I know it's not necessarily Josh's jam. So I was like, you know what? Let's put him through some
I will
fires
let you
playing.
know that I did get my money back.
It was $5, Josh. $5.
I was like, I wish I could return this, and I remember our conversation of, you can't play more than 2 hours. I'm like, I think I beat it in an hour. I'm
30.
gonna refund it.
That's amazing.
Wonderful.
That's amazing.
So, Josh, how'd it
what
go?
happened? Yeah, what happened in your playthrough, Josh?
So
before
it's a
you
game
looked
of
everything up?
reading.
Mm-hmm.
Game
Yep,
of reading.
It's
sure
a walking
is.
simulator.
Yep,
It is.
did not care for that. I like action stuff. Even Talos Principle wasn't really a game of reading. Most of your time was consumed by like hitting
actual
keyboard
puzzles,
buttons and
Yeah.
The fact that there was more combat in Talos Principle than this game was probably irritating for you.
And then the first part, like I have written down here, front door was blocked by furniture. If I was in this house, I would have moved the furniture out of the way. I mean, seriously, that's it? You're just going to be like, I don't know where I am, but I'm not moving that stuff.
Yep.
The sounds give me the creeps.
They were creepy. Yeah.
I would agree.
They were loud.
Overall, the game explains itself as an adventure horror game. I wouldn't say the game was scary, but it really
It wasn't
nailed creepy
horror,
very
but like
well.
the sounds gave me chills.
It was more suspense than anything, I feel
Yes.
like.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I don't think horror could also just be described as jump scares, which there really were none of, except for maybe some sound effects. But
There was from the like 4 or 5 times I completed, there's one jump scare that I found.
oh, interesting.
But continue, Josh. I'm sorry.
There's a part where you find a videotape,
Mm-hmm.
and the game kept saying, well, I wish I would have found what was on this videotape. And I'm like, yeah, nope, I'm not going back in that building. I'm just going to keep going. So I never saw what was on the videotape. Even at the end of the game, it was like, I wish I would have seen what was on the videotape.
Yeah, I didn't
Very accurate.
either. Yeah, I didn't get that either. So
Felt alone in the world, but the character talked like there were still people around. It was so weird.
it was interesting.
That part didn't make sense to me.
Hello.
At one point, I thought we were being followed.
You caught on to that.
The way
did ya?
the character talked, it's like it seemed like there were still people in the world,
It
but
was
like
odd.
everywhere he went, there was nobody.
Yeah, it was very strange.
He went to a warehouse. He went to a train station. He went to a house in a neighborhood. Like he went to a camp. Like there was nobody. So I don't really understand that part. I beat the game. I really have no idea what happened.
So, well,
My ending was.
there you go. There you go.
What's your buddy's name?
Norman?
Norman was having an affair with your wife,
Okay.
and I think Norman killed her.
Okay.
And then, like a shame or whatever you want to call it for killing her, he went
Mhm.
home and killed himself
Oh, you got
after
that
he
ending.
buried her in the concrete basement.
So what location did you end your game at then?
My house.
Walking
What
out of his
room?
house.
I walked out of the house into the front lawn.
Okay,
and
okay.
Yeah, she was buried. Like you had to break through the concrete wall in the basement, and then she was in trash bags. And then he just made the conclusion that they were having an affair. She wanted to, like, tell me, and he killed her, put her in that room in the trash bags, and they went home. And at some point, got drunk or something, and killed himself, and that was it. And now you're just upset and depressed.
Well, I'm glad you said that because the portion of you saying that you thought he killed himself in your ending, I don't believe happened. But if depending on where you choose to end the game, that is an option. There's an option where you actually do, end everything.
No, I didn't kill myself.
Okay.
That Norman killed
Oh,
her,
Norman,
and then went
okay.
him and killed himself.
Got it. Okay. I was a little confused.
My
there.
ending was he walked into his yard and he was like, "This is life" or something, and then just kind of faded out, and then the writing popped up on the screen.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
it wasn't bad. There was really no action. It was more just hitting left or right on the mouse, on the arrow, hitting spacebar to use something, and then every time he's like, "It's a gun. Should I pick it up? It's a knife. Should I pick it up?" I'm like, "Well, of course." And then he's like, "It's a plank of wood." I'm like, at this point, I'm just gonna take everything with me.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you don't. If you say no to some of those things, it gives you a valid reason why you want it.
Yeah.
It'll lead to different endings, sure, but like specifically, I remember if you don't pick up the gun, he says something about like he never liked using guns, and he thinks that you should, not everyone needs to own a firearm because bad things happen.
Well,
blah,
that's
blah, blah.
crazy because was it Norman's house or his house that he like realized that the gun was his or something?
I think you can realize it once you get to Norman's house,
Yeah,
but you find it in
because you
the
found like a
the house
gun
you start
case,
in.
and then you're like, "This gun fits in the gun case."
Mm-hmm.
And you get a little
That's funny
achievement
you
for it
say
too.
that. Yeah. It's funny you say that. I know through a lot of playthroughs, people just assume it's Norman's gun when they find that house.
So
But yeah,
Nathan, did
there's
you?
my
Nathan,
ending,
did you get the same ending?
my story, I got the same ending, but our story was very different. That's the whole point of this game. What I've learned.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm gonna start off by saying it was not like my favorite, not my favorite style of game. I've never really played something where it's kind of walk around. I don't do a lot of like pixel little it was almost like a point and click, but in a different way. It was not point and click, but it was more like walk and hit down arrow. But basically, no. Like there was just
Lifted
very
the little lantern.
Yeah, it was just kind of like you walking through this very man. not a single one of the buildings had any lights on the inside. What's up
Nope,
with that?
not really.
What's up with that? Not even your own home. Oh, the power's out. Oh, okay, cool. Give me a reason why. Okay, I don't care. Regardless, the game itself,
With the storm.
it just has you make as many choices as it can possibly give to you, and then it feeds you all of this information without really giving you the full story, and then has you piece it all together in the end yourself based on how you want, like how you feel this, like how things happen. Like almost like you're the detective, you see everything that happened, and you're like, okay, like at the very end. Okay, so basically how it ended for me, I made it home finally. And went through the house, found like the 2 different keys to unlock the 2 different doors, got down to the basement, got a crowbar, opened up the dividing wall in the basement. I went to the end. I found a bundle, a bloody bundle in the corner. It was like, is this your wife? And I said, no, it's not my wife. He finds out, it was just like a bloody bundle in the corner. It wasn't, his wife wasn't there. And then he remembers his wife never existed. He made her up because he was lonely. And I think a little bit insane. And he basically, after that, it says he like goes to his living room and like takes a nap on the couch because he's like, he has no idea what's happening. He just lays down and like he wakes up, and then it has you walk through the house and re-examine every like little piece of everything you could like interact with before. And there's new dialogue, and he's realizing, wait, this was all just me all this time. Everything he talked about Rachel before, his wife, was just it was a farce. It wasn't real in the first place. And he had made up like and my character committed all the murders. All the 2 women, the 2 young women he found in the woods, Norman, he killed them all because he was losing his mind.
Wait, you found dead young women in the woods?
You didn't,
Oh,
you
now
didn't
the
find
game's
that.
getting
Interesting.
interesting, isn't it, Josh?
The
Yeah.
only thing I found in the woods was the security guard dead.
That was
Did you
not
find
in
the
the
wallet?
woods. That was like outside the.
No, I didn't find a wallet.
Interesting.
I found a list in like a cave kind of thing in
Yeah.
the woods.
Yeah.
And then there was like a dead guard on like a fence.
Yeah. There are just a lot of twists and turns in this that you just like it gets a little bit confusing. And there's 2 freaking times where it cut me from going back. I went through the wrong door and it said,
Yep.
the door locked behind you. And then I couldn't finish something that I wanted to finish. I couldn't go back and like go through some door I had a key card for or whatever, because it was like, sorry, LOL, you can't go back. So yeah, that happened twice. And I was a little bit annoyed because I didn't complete it all. Maybe one day I'll go back if I really want to try to get the achievements. It was like fine. Wasn't my favorite game, but I enjoyed it for what it was. And I think it's interesting that anyone can play that game and come away with like a different story of like how things happened.
Did you get the videotape?
It gave me a choice in the end. Boy was like, you could walk out this door right now and just get away from this all, but you did pick up this knife and you committed all these atrocities. Maybe you should just end it all. I didn't make my character kill himself. I just left, but I could have. He gave me the option. I got the videotape and I never got to use it. Sad.
Yeah, I was gonna make mention of that too, because I think there's 3 points of no return, and that was when I first played it. That's what happened to me, because I know I ended up finding the videotape.
Really?
And I left and I couldn't go back, so I was like really irritated.
I think you
about
could
it.
use it there or something, but like I wasn't able to go back. I assume in your like multiple playthroughs you ended up eventually being able to use the videotape.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's
What was
cool. Like there's I'm sure he'll talk about that. But is there anything else? I mean, my overall thoughts for the game is like we're actually going to rate it today, because it was a one-off play. We played it this week, and we're just going to rate it this week. At least that was our initial like thought here. But my overall feeling of the game is I just have never really played. It was like a 2D like little like detective murder mystery kind of thing in a pixel world, and it had a very specific style that it went for. That it was just very simple. It wasn't my favorite, and I think it was very, very slow, which is the point. It wanted to build up this whole world, this little story, and it wanted to make you just have this constant sense of like dread.
Because Josh covered his camera so he could snack. I needed to bring that to your attention. He covered his camera and then he tried to softly chew that little bum. He's over here.
Evil. Evil. I don't. Josh.
Oh man.
How dare you? Okay, it was cool. Probably worth $5 for the interesting story and the fact that it allows you to like have completely like different story, different endings depending on like how you perceive the story. Halfway through I was like, yeah, this guy definitely did all this stuff. So I ended up going with that at the end because I could have said, nah, it was like Norman or something, but it was interesting. It was definitely, I've never played anything like it, I guess, so that's good. It's unique. Faux show.
For sure. Yeah, I know. So when he created the game, he didn't mean to like make it to sell to other people. What really happened was the few friends that he let play it, they were like, "This is amazing! Like, you should do it." Now it was in 2012. You got to realize it came out in 2012, and it also was a game that was made for the PSP.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's not. His friends were like, "Oh, I liked how this could end differently."
That's fair.
And it wasn't even really supposed to come to market. And so because his friends were just like, "Hey, this is pretty cool, like you should let other people play it." He was like, "Yeah," and he just kind of released it as is. And that's one aspect about the game that I enjoy is the fact that this wasn't meant to actually be played. So there's a lot of things in there that don't make sense. There's a couple like mechanical things like the going back. You can't go back after you find stuff, and um, and so
He
he did
charged
have
money for a game that shouldn't have been played.
Yeah, help me understand that.
So essentially, how it goes is he makes this game because he wanted to try his hand at it. He was really into the idea of like indie developers.
Yeah.
So he tried to do something on his own. He's let his friends play it. They're like, "Oh, well, that's pretty cool. Like I could see this working out. Like maybe polish it up or something." I'm not sure exactly how that part went, but yeah. So he was just like, "Yeah, let me do that." And so now he has quite a few different games that he's made. He has an actual company now. This was basically like the rough draft of what he wanted to do.
Okay.
And
that's fair. It was kind of like just that makes sense. I mean, it was like a dude like getting into video game development, and he put it out there because like he could make a little bit of money off it. Like that's cool, and maybe share his first stuff with people and everything.
Yeah,
I don't think it was anything groundbreaking, but I thought it was cool and worth hour and a half of playing.
Yeah, and I enjoy the game for that reason. Also, I think it's a really good example of what subtle differences can subtle differences in game development can make an actual huge change. Because if we get to the bare bones, like this is a choose your own adventure type of game, right?
Yeah.
It's so direct to the point that when you get to the end of it, it's like, "Ooh, did you find this person? Oh no, you didn't. Okay, well, did you do this? Oh no, you didn't." And so it's a very great idea with not a great execution because this is one guy who just did something, and he doesn't have the backing of a large corporation where they could make that same decision but make it like look a lot cooler.
That is cool.
Without just asking the question directly like he did.
Yeah.
That was like if I were to make a video game, I'm pretty sure it would turn out kind of like that. I would love to make a choose your own adventure kind of game, but I wouldn't know how to do it personally so that it looks good. And I'd be like, "So, Josh, was that your wife you found? Oh, it wasn't? Oh, yeah, then it was just some rags in the corner, my bad." It would just move on. But yeah, so my first playthrough, whenever I played it, it was like 2012, 2013. I played it pretty soon after it came out. And so I thought, after I'd seen the bodies and everything, I had thought that my character worked at the
factory,
the plant, the factory. Yeah. So I thought he worked there with Norman, and he lost his job because there's something in the factory that you can find. It's like a slip of paper that's like, I don't remember if it's like a laid off workers list or like I think it was like an announcement list that like they were cutting hours or something.
Yeah.
And so you find that, and when I pieced it together, I was like, oh, well, this guy, maybe he did do it because I wasn't sure if he was the killer at first. And so I came to the conclusion he was because he got laid off from his job and he originally just killed Norman out of anger because he talks about, he's your buddy and whatnot. You find, that what I kind of determined happened was because there's an excerpt where you can find an item and it would reveal that Rachel went to see Norman without your knowledge, basically.
Yeah.
So
The note, right?
Mhm.
In the mailbox.
So I get to the point where I see that and I'm like, well, maybe I did kill somebody at least out of anger. Like I thought my wife was cheating on me or something.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
That's what you do.
so yeah, of course. So I go in there and I go into the house. I kill Norman, and I ended up killing her because she, I already killed her, and she was like, "I'm going to call the cops." So he kills her, and then he just kind of like, in mine, I just left out of the house at the ending, and that's pretty much what it was. I didn't find the body in the basement or anything. I didn't even get to that scene. I don't think the first time I played.
Really?
But I just left, and it was like, the ending said something to the effect of, the truth, but you can't really accept it. That's why you're running away right now, isn't it? You know that you killed Norman, and you're pretty sure that you killed your wife, and you can't live with that. But
Yeah.
you also can't not live. So you're gonna go start. It said something like, you found your wallet, you're gonna ditch your ID, and you're gonna start a new life.
Okay. That's
It's
cool.
pretty much how that first playthrough went through. Yeah. And so yeah, after that I was like, oh, I'm gonna play this game again because like seems like there's different endings if you find stuff and didn't do stuff. Did either of you find the mouse? That was a pretty easy find
Oh yeah.
in
Yeah,
the
it was
house.
very, very early.
Did you leave the mouse or did you let the mouse go?
I let the little guy go. What do you mean?
What'd you do, Josh?
I think I let him go.
Yeah.
I can't remember. He does do something eventually. And I can't remember what he does because I didn't let him go in this playthrough. I was like, yeah, you're dying, little buddy. Don't care about you. You good, Josh?
These grannies look like they're having a blast.
Josh,
They
that was a
do.
really weird thing to say. What do you mean? Audio listeners, this is for you. Josh, what are you talking about?
Your listeners, there's a bunch of old people with big sunglasses.
What? Where?
Comically large.
Nathan keeps changing his background, and right now it's a bunch of like 90-year-old women on a spaceship orbiting Earth, and they have like these very fancy, like bejeweled, like
They're
those
not-
sequin pillars.
not
Like if
fancy.
you rub your hand
No.
up, it goes like a picture.
That's it. Looks
and then you
like
can
it's
swipe
exactly
the
what it
picture
is.
away. And then they've got like these sunglasses on that are like the size of softballs.
Yeah, well, Josh has
So-
horse ears, and I'm literally generating these in real
Oh.
time and then just putting them in my thing.
All right,
Great.
Andrew,
awesome.
keep going.
So after that, I played a couple more times, and in my, I kind of got a different idea. When I played today, I didn't finish it. Just because I had some sort of like crackpot theory partway through, and I was like, "Dog, I'm thinking this whole thing to the end."
Okay.
And so yeah, so what I did was after I got there, I found the gun, picked it up, found the knife, picked it up. Whenever you find the videotape, it actually is a tape showing you. If you go back and put it in, it's showing you the murder in real time of the guy in the house, and it shows you that he puts together. It kind of puts the clues together in the sewer area where
Oh,
you can find the list of names.
interesting.
It shows you that those list of names are a list of people that you would find in the woods camping. And basically, it kind of alludes to the fact that these might be people who witnessed you, and they were all like high school girls or something like that. So because you did this in some public area, or they some reason they saw you is what happened, and so you get the idea that this guy, traipsed through the mud and like went and tried to kill them in the forest area.
Goodness.
Yeah, interesting.
Terrible.
But when I started playing through, the only jump scare that I found was when you initially get to the quote city. Whenever you go to the factory for the first time, I don't know if it's just when you find the tape, because I only did it once and I tried to replicate it here and I couldn't. So I'm assuming it's if you find something, because the MC will mention, I feel like people are watching me, and he'll mention it a few times. And if you go through and you try to backtrack, like almost as soon as you enter in, there's actually a silhouette of someone who like runs away when you go back, and it won't let you kind of go back into the other part where he ran off to. And that was kind of a jump scare to me, because like
Wow.
nothing scared you at this point. It was kind
Yeah.
of suspenseful. But like then you see it, and you see it just like faster than everything else in the game, just kind of sprint off your screen. I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying for some reason.
That's crazy. So I know it's hard to say canonically in this game, because canon is what you make it literally. I mean, for the most part, for a lot of big things. Is there actually someone following you in the
These
game?
boots are made for walking.
Apparently, yes, because of that scene, and no matter what in all of your playthroughs, it makes note, which leads into my little crackpot theory. But as I was playing and I remembered that part of the scene,
Yeah.
or that part of the game, I realized something, and it's nothing that you would find in game. I love that's amazing. It's not something you find in game, and it's kind of, I guess, meta thinking,
Yeah.
like outside of the game verse. But so in any game that is somewhat like this, because there really isn't a game exactly like it, it's a little weird.
Yeah. Interesting.
But in any game like this, whenever you're doing like an adventure or a platformer, where do you go? Like, I want to ask that question. Where do you start and where do you go?
It's like whenever I just climbed some stairs and now I'm presented with a new. So
All
do I
right,
go left or right is what you're asking.
Yeah, yes. In any game where you adventure, you're always moving left to right. Like that's the goal,
Yeah.
right? And this is the only game that I've played where the majority is you're moving right to left.
You're blowing my mind, because that's true. I didn't really I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so and I'd played it multiple times, and I was, and the game kind of, even canonically, it pushes you to be like, no matter what, you're retracing some set of footsteps, right?
Yeah.
Whether you think they're yours or someone else's, or who the killer is, you're trying to figure that out. So you're literally you're tracing your steps back from right to left,
going
because in
backward
every other
makes
game,
sense.
you're essentially going backwards, trying to figure out what's going on, and you go backwards to your quote home.
That definitely has to be intentional. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking to myself, that could explain why um you don't know what's going on, whether it was because you had amnesia, you were depressed, and stress causes memory loss, whatever you decided that would be in this game. Also, though, because of that, and there is one scene, at least that I found, that there's that little jump scare of someone following you. Why don't we go one more step, one more layer deeper into the inception, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be possible, if you're tracing all your steps, and it seems like the game really does not filter, it does kind of push you to realize that no matter what, that this is the end of that player's journey.
Yeah.
And more often than not, in that journey, the player, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I don't know what that is, but that's cool.
Continue.
I'm
not trying to throw you off.
You're fine. The player goes through the journey, and 90% of the time, the player, I don't want to say commit suicide, but the player just ends himself at some point, right? And again, getting into that kind of aspect, it's not a happy ending,
No.
but you can obviously replay and do other things. So why is it that there's someone watching you? Why is it, no matter what, one of the canon things that happen is this man always thinks someone's watching him. So I get to thinking again. I'm like, let's take one more step into the deep end because I'm just already on this thought train. Let's finish it all the way through. Let's try to make it make sense.
Yeah.
What if this is your purgatory per se? Right. So no, regardless of what your story is that you come up with, for example, we'll
You're
use
on
mine.
a loop of trying to figure out the same thing for
Kind
the
of.
rest of time.
Kind of, but also you're figuring out, but there is an ending where you can choose to leave this life behind and just
Yeah.
start fresh. What if you're actually looking at yourself through a purgatory and you're watching yourself try to figure out all these different things because you're just trying to figure out what happened, and that person that's always watching you is actually yourself? That's
Whoa.
kind of what I came up with. That's the only reason I could think of why they'd put somebody else like purposely watching you and then actually
Yeah.
making it a thing at some point.
It's also
Because
interesting because, like, by
there's
the
never
end,
anyone else in the game.
Yeah.
Everyone else that you come across is dead. So
but he's like
it just wouldn't
talking
make
to
sense.
someone, and it's like then he says it's like you at the end,
And
or
you don't
something.
know who it
It's-
is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's odd.
So
I like
that's my
that though.
crackpot
I
theory there.
actually I think that's cool.
Well,
I don't know if the
ready to get
developer
into
put that much
rating?
thought into it, but I like
Well,
that.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm ready to. We can rate.
Nathan, give us your rating on the graphics.
Well, I'm gonna very quickly reiterate: graphics doesn't just mean how good are the graphics, how high res are they, but it's more like the atmosphere, the aesthetics of it, and how it worked together. I thought it was cool. It was very simple, like very, very simple, just pixel art, 2D. I didn't think it was anything crazy or like above average in that regard. The sound effects were the most probably scary or eerie or like I don't know. I would probably give it a 6. Like it was like average, maybe slightly above average. It was good. It was fine. Like it wasn't like anything to write home about, but I don't think it was bad. Like I think the dude accomplished what he wanted to
Andrew.
with a very
Fair.
simple style.
Yeah, I also gave graphics a 6. Just because I kind of lumped sound into graphics as well. I think they did really good with, because there's no. So when oh my gosh, I can't even talk today. I'm sorry. When you play games that are kind of pixel art like that, you
Yeah.
can tell when it's intentional. Like there's little subtle, like whether it's smooth animations or the way you can find or search for things in that world is usually unique. There's little indicators that it was really well put together, and you don't really get that outside of sound engineering, I guess. Just because the sound to me is what really kind of put it over the top in the aspect of this game makes me feel tense.
Yeah.
I was never scared, but it definitely puts me in suspenseful. So yeah, I mean, I gave it a 6. It was maybe above average, I say.
Just over drinking.
I gave it a 5.
Okay.
It was
Yeah,
average.
that's fair.
We're all pretty feeling similar about it.
It was like pixel art. Some games are very like cartoonish and colorful or like different, or it's sometimes it's just like you're pulled very far away and you're watching your little character on this like hills and jumping and all that.
Mhm.
This one you were very up close. I mean, the TV, the static on the TV,
Mhm.
the trash, like it was average. It was decent.
Yeah.
Yep, I'd agree.
Nathan, what was your gameplay rating?
It was the game had a specific style of gameplay that it was going for. It was very slow, very methodical. I think it was
Mhm.
big reason why it was just very eerie. All the constant like noise in the background and everything was. I think the sound design was very well done, but the actual gameplay itself, the text took too long to come on the screen, and you couldn't skip it or speed it up, which I'm
Mhm.
sure is intentional, but I didn't like that. That's just me. You move so slowly, and you have to backtrack
do.
a lot, which is
Mhm.
once again probably for the overall like feeling of the game. of the suspense of the game. I didn't like that. It's not my favorite game to have played. I appreciated the experience, but actually playing it felt a little bit. I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 4 for gameplay.
Nice.
I'm gonna give it a 4.
Andrew?
I gave it a 5. I think the only reason the gameplay was even given average for me is just because I think what he had set out to do, the developer, he did exactly that, but it was in a bare bones rough draft. I didn't look over this and I
Yeah.
sent it into the teacher because the deadline was due.
Yeah.
And so I gave it a 5. It got the job done for what it wanted to do, but it could have been done way better.
For sure.
It could have been worse, but not by much. So
For sure.
I give gameplay a 3 for the same reasons Nathan did.
mhm.
Like I found myself like trying to find keyboard buttons that would let
Speed it up.
the stuff come up faster. And then
Nice.
sometimes I'm like, did it work? And then I'll try it again. I'm like, no, it's still coming at the same speed. And you move slow and then going up the stairs, down the stairs, and the same animation that click, 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 click,
Oh,
click.
especially the forest. That was the worst for me.
Yes.
I had to go through so many bushes, couldn't figure
Oh
out what it
my
was the first few
gosh.
times.
And then
Yeah,
that
that was annoying.
squeaking gate or door every time, like, I'm like, I don't want to hear this no more. So I give it a 3. Like, the gameplay itself combined with the story and stuff wasn't bad. It's just like the gameplay of those annoying features. I gave it a 3. Nathan, what did you give the overall story aspect?
Story's weird in a game that you make the story. However,
Mhm.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting. They did a cool like take on it by having all these different like ways that you can change the story. You can have a similar ending, but an ending that is slightly different because of a choice that you made. I don't know. I'd probably give it like a 6. I thought it was. I didn't think it was like anything insane, but I like what he did overall with the actual like choose your own adventure kind of aspect of it, and how different. Like it didn't really matter if you didn't do some of the things. It just came up later, and he was like, "Well, I never found out what to do with that VHS, but I got it." But like, it just kind of like it reminds you of things that didn't happen, which is honestly I like the way they did that because there's a lot of random little places you explore in that game and little items you pick up and stuff like that, and it can be easy to forget because you don't really have an inventory. So, yeah, I'd say 6.
Andrew?
So story, I gave it a 7 originally, only because um, when you go through something like that, it was pretty obvious, especially near the end, that like I don't know if he was just rushed to have other people play it, or he didn't put too much effort into the ending, but it had the potential, and the storytelling was obviously, whether I wanted to admit it or not, it was good enough to where if I know I have to beat this game in one sitting, and if it's going to take 2 to up to 4 hours to beat, I still wanted to complete it.
Mhm.
Whether I wanted to admit it was good or not, I still wanted to get to the end of it. So for that, there was
I mean, you can
something
still
about
have
the
a
way he did
trash
it,
game that has a good
a
story.
good story, yeah. And so I thought the story, regardless of whether or not I wanted to like dog on everything else, I thought it was at least good enough to whether if I recognized it or not, I still wanted to complete the game. So yeah, I'd say the story had to be above average. It's the only thing I could really attrition it to.
So what are you rating? Because you started off saying I originally gave it a 7, and I thought,
Oh yeah, I'm giving it a 7.
okay.
I just kind of meant like, yeah, I didn't think it was going to be great, and then I was like, well, it had to be good enough to want me to keep playing. So
Yeah, that's fair.
I give it a 5. It was about average.
Cool.
It wasn't a very long game to like really build up the story.
Yeah.
hmm
Um, it was all right. I think if I didn't know that there was many different endings like that, if I didn't look it up or hear you guys talk about it, my story would have been a lot lower because I basically just went through the whole thing, kept hitting the next button, and then found out like my wife cheated, and now I'm sad and I'm moving on. So
You're like, oh yeah,
I'm
what a
giving it a
basic
5.
story. But yeah.
Nathan, what's your replayability score, buddy?
That's hard because if this game had one story, I would say 1. Because I just wouldn't really have any desire to play it again. I think it was cool. But like to play once. But the fact that you can play it through and make different decisions and change it up, I just think in general replayability is high for games like this. But only so high because I probably won't try to find the other endings.
So high, so high.
I'm gonna give replayability a 6 as well.
All right, 6. Andrew, replayability.
Replayability, I have to give it a 5. I want it to be higher. But yeah, the gameplay, granted it was 11 years ago when this came out, but even for an indie developer, the gameplay and everything else, there's no rewarding loop after you do it once. There's nothing that's like sticks out to me that I was like, yeah, I really need to go back and watch that VHS.
Yeah.
There wasn't really anything for that. I did just because I was a little curious, but yeah, it's average. That's 5.
I gave it a 5 as well. Andrew basically said the same thing. I beat the game, so it's a game completion, but it wasn't like crazy enough that I was like, I gotta go back and see what else I can get. Like I was like, I don't want to sit through this again. So I give it a 5.
Fair
Nathan,
enough.
what is your cost versus value?
I can imagine cost versus value being higher for somebody who wants to go back and actually like do all the different things and the change the endings and everything. But $5 and the fact that you could complete it fast enough to actually get your money back, I'm gonna say like 9. It's cheap. It's not that big of a deal. I can't give like a 10 because free to play games are 10, but 9's it was just $5 and it was a cool little experience.
Nice. Yeah,
Andrew,
I gave it an 8. Same idea. Like, I think even at full price when the game came out, it was like 12 or 15 bucks.
Okay.
And even at that, I was like, well, this is kind of cool. It was different. It was the first time I played like a horror game. And, just something that's telling me, hey, you should play this in a dark room. You should play this with headphones. It's better that way. I was like, they were really trying to set you on the immersive path. And it succeeded the first time. I was like, oh, cool. I'm pretty pumped about this. And then, it fell through. But oh yeah, if you even remotely want to go back and see some of the other stuff, yeah, it's worth the cost versus value.
100%.
I gave it a 5.
Okay.
Bars. He said it ain't even worth $5, even though I got my money back.
Well, that's the thing.
That is pretty funny.
The fact that it is fast enough to beat in one sitting, and that I was able to beat the game, get an ending, and still get my money back. The cost versus value for that, I think, is the least average, because like I got it out of the game. I decided whether or not I wanted to keep going with it, and I didn't. And I got my money back.
You also should be able to rate that infinitely higher because of the fact that you got so much value out of it that it didn't cost you anything. You got the free to play aspect. Oh yeah, I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just saying.
Oh man.
You beat the game in enough time to where you could get your money back for no questions asked. And you got an experience.
All right, so average score. Nathan with a 6.2. Andrew with a 6.2.
Oh.
And Josh with a
Interesting.
4.6. Now, fellas, starting with Nathan, let's give me an overall feelings rating.
5.
Andrew.
I still say 7.
Okay.
And Josh, I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay. Fair.
That was my TED Talk. Thanks for coming.
Good stuff. All right. Well, Andrew with 7, Nathan with 5, Josh with 5, and we also had our average scores, so that's pretty sweet. Fun little experience. Appreciate the thought, and we will be coming back next week with a new game to all three of us. We are planning that separately, so it will be a surprise next week. So Look forward to that.
Surprise.
Wait, we're not talking about it now?
No,
Nope.
you missed that, I think, earlier. That's going to take way too long. We're going to talk about that separately. We're not announcing it this week.
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna keep these in my
It's
shadows.
also late. I'm sorry. We can talk about it together though, like throughout the week, but because I have some ideas and everything. But
I have my pick. I have them ranked in the order that I want to play,
I like that.
and one of them is something that Andrew suggested
Nice.
that I thought was Nathan for a long time.
Nathan.
It's not Persona. I know that. You bum.
No.
Interesting. Well,
all right. So
we're moving
Andrew,
right on
hit us with
to
that fantasy draft.
Yeah, what he said.
I apologize. What did you guys say?
Fantasy draft.
Fantasy draft. Oh,
We need more hype, Josh. More hype. Fantasy draft.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
That's never gonna end.
Never. So this week's fantasy draft is much like home, unique. It may not be great, which is kind of the consensus we came up with, but unique it is. So snake style as usual, we'll go me, Nathan, Josh, and then Josh, Nathan, me. But we want to know what everybody says is objectively who are the two best Disney princesses
Easy.
objectively
Easy.
that you can think of. So for me, I would have to say, let's see, one of the best Disney princesses. No, I don't want to go first. I'll go second. I usually go last on these. So Nathan, you go first.
I'm going first.
I'll go second. Josh will go
if Andrew's the fantasy draft is supposed to go Nathan, me, Andrew, me, Nathan.
I see. Okay.
Gotcha. So yeah, Nathan, me, Andrew, Josh, whatever. Disney princesses.
So I did have some things come to my mind initially, but I am just pulling up a list of them just to make sure that my initial thought also goes along with how I actually would feel about it. So we will we'll see here, but I have a good few princesses here. All right. Oh, she's a princess. I didn't know that. That's cool. Well, objectively, number one. I hate going first.
Why are we saying objectively?
Because this is objective. Shut your mouth.
Yeah, so the idea is you're going to say who the best Disney princess is, and I'm sure we're going to disagree. So we want to hear like reasons why they're dope, basically.
What's funny is if two of us actually have a legitimate like feeling on this, one of us is going to have to choose someone else because just the
Oh
role
yeah.
of the game.
Oh yeah.
Why is this website asking me if I'm an adult or I'm a child?
You're not allowed to look at Disney princesses, Josh.
I'm a kid.
Yeah, Snow White's number one.
Snow White. Why do you say Snow White's number one?
She slept for however. She did nothing. She ate an apple and basically died. She's worthless.
Dwarves.
No.
Dwarves.
Rumpy, slumpy, dumpy, humpy. Get out of here.
Dwarves. Josh, what's your number one?
That's your only reason is dwarves?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's seven.
Snow White because dwarves.
Yep.
I love it.
I can't find like something that actually gives me a legit list. So I'm just gonna go by pictures.
I just tried to Google them and I found the one that you're talking about, Josh.
DisneyPrincess.fandom.com/wiki/list of Disney princesses.
Yeah.
All right, so official princesses. There's like 13 of them, right?
They don't gotta be official, but like, primary female protagonists that are of royalty.
To make my decision. All right, we're gonna go with official because that's on my list. I'm gonna say Merida.
So why do you say Merida?
She's got a bow and arrow, bro.
That's it. She's got a bow and arrow.
No, that's a cool one.
Bow and arrow. She can bow fish and kill Ariel
That's a fair one.
I mean, Snow White's
Whoa,
asleep.
are we doing a wait? We're not doing like a
Josh,
what?
Josh just made this a battle royale, but all the
The battle royale of Disney princesses needs to happen later, not in this video. But that's a wonderful idea.
That is great.
But I'm just picking Merida because she's got a bow. I don't know much about her, but just the picture, like, I'd vote her for president.
Did you hear the prompt, or did you hear half the prompt?
Objectively.
Okay, that's fair. Objectively, Andrew. Objectively, what's the best?
Objectively, hands down, the best
take
princess
mine.
is Pocahontas.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
Pocahontas, for one, is...
Are we even allowed to talk about her?
Yes, we are. Because she's Native American, and I'm not afraid to say that. She is wise enough. She didn't need no man until John Smith came along, and when they were like, "Hey, you can't date him," she was like, "You know what? Freaking sucks, but I'll live." And then, she's living in the wilderness her whole life, living off of sticks and stones can break bones, and I'm breaking kneecaps, boys.
Nah.
She just if I had to run a fade with a princess, I would never pick Pocahontas. Never. Because once she gets close enough to you, there's maybe one other one that could put up a fair fight. But no, once she gets in there, 1-2 KO, do you have the strength of a raging river? Pocahontas does. You can't handle that. Anyways.
All right, what's your number 2?
Number 2. Let's see. So with this one, I just have to go with I like this princess's personality, which is why I choose them, not because they're going to run the fade but I love Prince crap. I got to look up
Princess
the name.
Crap.
That sounds terrible. The fact that I can't think of who it is. Oh, wow, that's really bad. So Rapunzel is amazing. She is one of the most normal princesses there are. And she is kind of dumb. I'll give you that. She's just got a lot of hair, and her mom's like, bro, you should just keep growing your hair long. But she's the most realistic princess, and I respect that.
That's fair.
So my second choice of princess in Team Ruining Your Day is going to be Mulan.
Yep, I was waiting for it.
Time to go
As
and
soon
pick a
as
new
you
one.
turned it
Time
into
to go
Battle
pick a new
Royale,
one.
I knew
She
that's where you were
dressed
going.
up as a man and destroyed men at their own battle, and then was like, "Oh, by the way, I'm a woman."
Problem. That movie should have ended so much sooner. You remember when she's in the camp, right? And they're singing their little song about getting stronger. The dude yanks her up and is looking at her. That movie should have ended the moment he naturally, without being a pervert, because he thinks it's a man, looks down her shirt and he's like, "Oh, you're not a man." Movie should have ended. 100%.
Yeah, but I'm a hefty boy too. I mean, I could be in the same category.
But you can tell the difference, bro. You can tell the difference.
Nah, and then going along with Nathan's thing, Mulan has that little dragon.
I'm sorry, is this a list of best side characters of Disney? No. It's best
sidekicks?
princesses.
Well, the sidekicks come with the princess. It's a deal.
Well, then I win because I have Pascal and Miko, my guy.
Nah, get out of here.
Miko will destroy Mushu. And then Pascal, he just won't see him coming.
All right, Nathan, just give us your second so we can get this over with.
Well, it was Mulan.
As soon as he made it into a BR, he was like, "Yeah, I'm going with the fighter."
Dang it, dude. So good thing we have editing. So my second one is most definitely, without a doubt, Belle.
Belle?
All right, everybody.
Is it because we're going with the sidekicks and you're picking Beast?
Nah.
Your sidekick Belle?
Nah,
he picks the teacup.
She looked deep in the heart of a big, scary, ugly monster and said, "You're all right." And then
is
the
Belle's
movie
real
ended.
name Megan? Is that what you're saying?
Oh,
Oh,
doxing our homie here. Some kind of doxing, at least.
All right, well, everybody, these two gave trash opinions, so we see you next week when we tell you what the new game we're playing is.
Lovely. When you stole my opinion, yeah. Come back next week, fellas. ladies, fellas,
Josh.
any other people.
I'm
Oh,
Andrew. He's Nathan.
have a great week.
Segue.
love you.
Segue.
Grandmas.